Good morning. It's Thursday, May 28th, and we're going to continue our discussion on action with a prompt from the Daily Stoic, which reads, "What should I think about before I take action?" Now, as it's worded, this prompt is a very general question. It leaves me wanting more specificity. I want to know more about the situation up for discussion. What's the action that I'm considering? But the wording is intentional. It's a very general question, which can only be met by a very general response. And that's the beauty in this exercise. It prepares us with a default, simple set of instructions and plan for how we'll begin to handle any situation, regardless of the context. It was Seneca who said, "There is a need for someone as a standard which our characters can measure themselves. Without a ruler, you won't make the crooked straight." Now, the Stoics believed that while we should look broadly to learn from the wisdom of others, it was helpful to keep the image of someone that you respected and looked up to close to you, watching your behavior and advising you along the way. Now, for some people, maybe that's a parent or a friend. For others, maybe it's a religious belief. That's the whole idea behind the WWJD bracelets. It serves as a physical reminder to the wearer to stop and think, what would Jesus do? So for me personally, I choose a minor modification to this question to provide me with a ruler for making the crooked straight. And that is, what would Marcus do? And for Marcus Aurelius, the response to this question of what should I think about before I take action would be very simple. In fact, he addresses this in his diary when he reminds himself, the first thing to do, don't get worked up. Emotions cloud our judgment if we let them. It's important to allow for that space between stimulus and response to allow ourselves to think clearly and objectively. Now, the next thing to do is to remember to be a good human being. To that end, he asks himself, does what happened keep you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, straightforwardness, and all the other qualities that allow a person's nature to fulfill itself? So that's it. Marcus's simple reminder of what to think about before taking action. Number 1, don't get upset. Number 2, do the right thing by being a good person. Now, I realize that this sounds too general to be practical, so I'll offer an example where I put it into practice and it served me well. Earlier this year, I took my family to a Saturday afternoon Rockets basketball game downtown, and while I was parking the car in a street-level parking lot, I handed the lot attendant a $100 bill to pay for the $20 parking. And instead of giving me the $80 back in change, the lot attendant took the money from the car in front of me as well as mine and just bolted off towards the confines of downtown. And as I watched him run further away in my rearview mirror, my natural instinct was to get out and chase after him. I had just been robbed in broad daylight. I knew there was no way that this guy could outrun me, and I wanted justice. But as I felt my sympathetic nervous system begin to kick into overdrive, I stopped and asked myself quickly, what would Marcus do? Well, as we've just seen, the first step would be not to get worked up, not to allow my emotions to dictate my actions. I had to see that anger had built up quickly, and I had to release it just as fast. What would happen when I actually did catch this man? Was I prepared to assault him for $80 when he was clearly more desperate for it than I? Further, to what lengths would he go to keep my money? The risk of engagement was just far too high, so I let him go, physically. And then I had to let him go mentally. That $100 bill had been in my wallet for several months because I rarely used cash. I hadn't truly valued or been dependent upon that money before this incident happened, so why should it be any different now? I felt extremely fortunate to have enough financial security to where losing $100 unexpectedly wouldn't disrupt my ability to still enjoy the afternoon at the game with my family. For the man who robbed me, that $100 meant far much more. Now, was it fair? No. But I also didn't want him to rob me of the present and of the opportunity to move on and focus on creating memories with my wife and kids without letting that cloud of anger hang over me. And that's exactly what I was able to do by defaulting silently to my little refrain of what would Marcus do, and remind myself, number 1, don't get worked up. Number 2, just remember to be a good person. And that's what served me well in that instance. Hope you have a great day.